on behalf of Trax and her role in curating Pomegranates Festival. And Kristen is on technical. Jack and Annetta are available for weddings, for baptisms, bar mitzvahs, graduation ceremonies.
Funerals as well. Well, thanks so much, Anita and Anita, perhaps, and Jack. That was brilliant. But what a joy for a curator like myself and an art historian, dance historian, to be at this event today and to be treated to these beautiful sharings and to the panel discussion. Just to hear from the artists directly is what curators live for. So it's really a pleasure, and thanks very much to Rob and Christine for the kind invitation to join you today. I'm afraid I'll be breaking the mold of talking and focusing just on contemporary art and contemporary dance. We'll just veer towards traditional dance a little bit, and only because I currently happen to be the curator of the only organization called Traditional Dance Forum of Scotland that looks after all the traditional dance that's practiced in this country, including Irish, including Bulgarian, including all the Gaelic kind of the intersection of Gaelic mouth music, for instance, with step dancing, with the Scottish step dancing. So all of this is really under our remit. That's where we come from. But also because also because we are under the umbrella of, as Rob mentioned, Trax. Trax is another national organization that is known as Traditional Arts and Culture Scotland. So it doesn't really look after only dance, but it's got storytelling, it's got a little bit of traditional music, and hopefully soon there'll be another forum, just like ourselves, for traditional crafts, so heritage crafts, yeah? So, and we happen to be based in this building that's got this dual identity as well. It is officially the oldest medieval building standing on the Royal Mile in Edinburgh, and known as John Knox House. And then part of it on the other side is the renovated part, which is the Scottish Storytelling Centre. But it's just in name. It's a multifunctional, multi-art, tiny little centre, really, not as big as Tramway, but it's got this kind of identity of being on an exhibition space, as well as theatre space, as well as gathering and various other. There's a lovely cafe. It's a social space for everybody to come along, but it's known as the Storytelling Centre, and obviously it's got a beautiful kind of history of hosting the Storytelling Festival in Edinburgh. That's been going on for 30 odd years. I'll just move on here to mention that I'll bring us kind of down to earth a little bit, grounding us into the Convention for Intangible Cultural Heritage, which dates back to 2003. The UNESCO had this idea that they have to pick up a more neutral term for folklore and folk beliefs and customs and traditions. The dreaded word here, traditions. Bless you. And came up with this slightly more neutral, kind of very catchy in English. Obviously, it's not doing the work. Intangible cultural heritage, and most and most recently, when celebrating the 20th anniversary of this convention in 2023, so they came up with a version of living heritage, which is slightly more kind of appealing, I would say. And then only just last year, the UK government ratified this convention. So it took us more than 20 years to get on this bandwagon. So it's really been a long journey. But and I'm kind of pointing out to TRACS as the non-governmental organization advisor to UNESCO that has got this status since about last year as well. So it's a kind of formal process where anybody, any cultural organization could apply. But in Scotland, we only have two. So it's Museums and Galleries Scotland and TRACS as this kind of accredited NGOs that recognized by UNESCO, kind of advising on anything to do with intangible cultural heritage in the country and further afield. And I'll also mention, so these are the three things that I'll talk to you about. Mention Pomegranates, and some of you are very familiar with Pomegranates as the Scotland's festival of intangible cultural heritage, if you like, but in a contemporary context. Not just contemporary dance, but contemporary context in terms of exhibitions and events. And who are we? I mean, Traditional Dance Forum of Scotland is also a membership-based organization. Some of you, again, in the room are members. And we've recently, since the cost of living crisis hit hard, we haven't actually introduced the membership fees, so it's been free. So that's our little way of recognizing and acknowledging that we're all struggling as artists, yet another organization to be a member of and to pay your dues. So we've relaxed this bit, and yeah, you can certainly find more how to join if you're interested, because it's basically open to anyone, not just anyone practicing any traditional dance form or getting inspired or getting something that's been the topic of today. Seeking not necessarily the permission, but seeking the inspiration and running with it. So anyone with an interest in traditional arts and traditional dance as a form of intangible cultural heritage can join from further afield as well, Ireland, Bulgaria, wherever you are. So and then we've come up with 5 good reasons, one of which is Pomegranates. What we tend to do is, so we kind of go about these 3 different things that we do as a national organization. Festivals, Pomegranates being one of them, residencies, and productions. Productions meaning dance theatre kind of shows and events. Again, residencies, just a quick mention because it's not on the slides, but most recently, Border Gaelic, that's also behind this event, has allowed us to pair a Scottish step dancer with a Gaelic singer, and the mouth music in particular, and to have residencies in primary schools. And we started with the Gaelic Medium School in Edinburgh and the Lothians, well, the only one that we have in terms of primary school. We'll continue with this program for another academic year, starting as of August, hoping to work in Glasgow and to spread our wings there. But to be honest, this is something that just about every Gaelic medium school should probably introduce. And either as part of the curriculum, that's what we are kind of pushing for as part of our campaign in primary schools, because traditional dance is not there. Traditional music is, because of the Fèis movement in this country, but traditional dance is, and obviously not just the traditional dance of the indigenous kind of our own, but all the world traditions, because we have such a diverse bunch of young people and families that are in there. And if we don't start them in primary level, then it's far too late afterwards. Anyway, so just to kind of again put the Pomegranates Festival in the context that as kind of an organization that we advocate that, that's where we can experience intangible cultural heritage and, in fact, all the world traditional dance forms in a kind of relaxed and beautiful way is probably festivals. But so Pomegranates is something that we came up, and now you'll hear about the story how and why. But the fringe, we can't avoid it. We in Edinburgh, we're based in Edinburgh, but we obviously have a national remit. So we've done something like thistles and sunflowers and various. At the moment, we are preparing something all about Mary Queen of Scots and how she infuriated John Knox. And the reason why it became a story is because John Knox really had an issue. He was really infuriated with the fact that she was dancing. She dared to dance as opposed to Elizabeth, who actually, Queen Elizabeth, she actually preferred other people to dance for her. She didn't, go as far as to get the daggers and, to cross-dress as Mary Queen of Scots. Anyway, this is one of the walking tours that we are hoping to. We piloted a version as part of Pomegranates this year, so we are hoping to have more of a regular kind of presence, which is like as part of the Fringe Festival this year. So again, putting traditional dance, or the idea of traditions. Back in the day, it wasn't in the 16th, 17th century, it wasn't necessarily known as traditional dance, but this notion. So watch this space. Europeade is a kind of funny sounding word to us. It's a little bit like the Cultural Olympiad, if you kind of remember this back then. But Europeade has been going on for 60 years on the continent and has never come to Scotland or the UK at all. So our little kind of on the wish list is the opportunity to bring Europeade to Perth and Perthshire because it thrives in smaller cities. Edinburgh is a bit too big, and obviously it's awfully saturated with festivals. But it brings 5,000–6,000 people from across the traditional dance groups, as well as musicians, and it's kind of 5 days of mayhem in terms of open doors, and indoors as well. We can't avoid it in Scotland. Although Perth, and Perth is a lovely place in terms of sunshine and being inland. So hopefully 2027. And we've got, we've lobbied the government and the Creative Scotland, so hopefully there will be an opportunity to stage it there, and to have all these people descending on our, on our shores. But hopefully we'll curate a program that will bring you guys and all the Ukrainian, Kvit Ukraini, for instance, our own Edinburgh-based Ukrainian traditional dance ensemble. They were kind of worried, will we be allowed to perform at Europeade? Of course you will, the way we treat everybody in terms of Pomegranates as well. And then, talking of Pomegranates, it's really what emerged in 2022. Back then, slightly, but it's been kind of going on, and it's just a small festival that, unlike Dig, that has got this kind of slightly more grand and kind of more international. Our notion of internationalism is actually to search hard for the people that are already based in Scotland, and not to import them from further afield. I mean, from Ireland, probably we can stretch as far. London, occasionally, but really, and only very, very rarely we can have a special guest that we fly over. But really, we have such a, Jack would probably testify to this because he was part of last year's Pomegranates and, this year's Pomegranates. So it's really, we have such a wealth of traditional dance groups to start with, of artists, dance artists that, very much like Jane, steeped in all these different traditions and stepping, outside of our own, homegrown. Evie has also performed before, and it's really, again, something that we need to honor, what we have already as a great resource and a great opportunity to showcase their work. Otherwise, yeah, so the traditional dance workshops and the 48-hour dance theater kind of devised theater choreography piece has been there from the start. And what it is, it's almost like we bring, for a very intensive period, one day, 8 hours back-to-back workshops that are kind of taught by dance masters or the bearers, the people that are already based here, but they are really the holders of and embody the culture. Whether it's the Palestinian dabke, for instance, we didn't go as far as the Yiddish culture that that we found, well, as far as Dundee, so we had to go and bring the dance teacher and the instructor from there for these dance workshops. So, and then these dance workshops feed into the 48-hour dance theater kind of performance that we devise on the back of that. So, trying to get the energy and feature some of the artists that being part of the tutors or part of the participants into the actual final show. I have some videos as well for that. And, so this was just a little skip through back in time. That was the very, very first Pomegranates. And that was the last one. So from 2 days, we moved on to 5 days to fit in all this kind of wealth of work, including this year, we had this beautiful show, Not for Glory. Some of you may have heard of it. And it was just the highlight. It was definitely one of the highlights for me. And it was brilliantly kind of putting together the Irish and the Scottish Highland dance kind of traditions, the competitive traditions of that dancers have grown up with, plus the bagpiping. So it was just really, something we were very, very pleased. We weren't the producer of this show, but we were very pleased to give the platform for such fantastic work that has been in development. And, it was, probably about 2 years ago in the studio or next door, when we saw the development of this work, and to see it on the stage with such a joy and such great reception, it was fantastic. So that was just one of the shows that was featured this year. There were another 15. But yeah, so what you're seeing here is so this year we even picked up intangible cultural heritage as one of the themes of the festival, just to honor, just to say, thank you very much, UK government, for finally ratifying and getting us up to speed. But the other theme was masks. So we were looking at the masked traditions in dance from around the world, and this is the Venetian style of mask making that we also happen to be, so blessed with an artist that lives down the road from the Scottish Storytelling Centre in Edinburgh, and she's the only Scottish artist that performs at the Venice Carnival as a model of her own masks and her, her outfits, as well as she's the gifted mask maker and the only one trained in the Venetian style in Scotland. So that's herself in both incarnations. So this is just a quick, let's see whether it will work. Maybe it will work. So that was year one of Pomegranates. Blast from the past, indeed. So it was more of a battle of Scottish Highland dancing and all the other traditional dance forms represented, yeah. And there's always a Ceilidh, we're not very far from, but with a twist, with a Danish-born Ceilidh color of Scottish dancing, as well as all these different dance artists, and as well as the young people, that we've mentioned from the primary schools. But that was a very, very small affair. And in fact, this year, since Rob mentioned kindly, where is the space that we can put together and mash Bulgarian and Irish and Scottish traditions? Well, that happened as part of this year's Pomegranates, as part of the Ceilidh Plus. Again, I'm picking up on Jack a lot this afternoon, but he even gave us a surprise act in the interval of. So what we do is kind of a new style of Ceilidh dancing, where the Scottish Ceilidh, the good old Scottish Ceilidh is there, but it's added with another two countries. So we have Ceilidh dancing, style of Ceilidh dance from other two countries every so often. So we had two of these Ceilidh Plus events as part of Pomegranates, and one was Irish and Bulgarian, and particularly because, it's music to my ears because it goes back to my Irish and Bulgarian heritage, kind of my own personal one. So that's really fantastic. But it's so valid when you think about it. When we started with the beautiful Irish bagpiping, this is the closest you can get to Bulgarian bagpiping, because that's the style. It's not so much the Highland bagpiping tradition that we know, and I grew up with. And there's a little bit of Bulgarianness here. We now Thistles and Sunflowers kind of duets that we did, and then it went on to a bigger production. And another quick snippet of the collaboration, another duet, but between drawing and dance. And again, in the context of Pomegranates, that was a couple of years ago, Gabriel Schmitz also made an appearance in Glasgow because we worked with Goethe Institute honoring his German kind of background. And he sketches in charcoal, and while the dance happens there, and then he uses this inspiration for the beautiful kind of finished, slow artworks that he produces on canvas or on paper, but the sketches are there to kind of for him to inform his work afterwards. And this was the first time he collaborated with traditional dance. That's kind of based on a fusion of Egyptian and Scottish, and even the Moroccan kind of Egyptian oud player that's kind of in the background. You'll see a glimpse of him as well. But yeah, Gabriel Schmitz was the only artist that we imported from his base in Barcelona, so we had to make a concession there and bring him over. And as an artist in residence, as I mentioned, that residency is kind of an aspect of what we do. So yeah, he worked with these 8 hours of workshopping, where he challenged himself to constantly. We ended up with 50 meters of this Fabiano beautiful kind of watercolor paper that he sketched on. So that's one of the legacies, hopefully, that we'll see. It's there for everybody. It's ours. So that's a little bit of Chris Lyons, who is another artist in residence in terms of multi-instrumentalist, kind of musician virtuoso, who straddles all the world cultures, not just the Scottish Ceilidh music that we see. So, and there's a screen dance version of the piece known as "To Begin the Dance Once More," but this is just a kind of live version. And then, from all these workshops that I mentioned, we end up with the 48-hour kind of festival finale. It's based on the 48-hour film. You may have heard of the film project. But this is like a dance project version of that. And it's not commercial, it's obviously in this kind of funded and artists are well supported to produce that, but they only have these 48 hours to pick up the inspiration from the traditional dance forms that have been taught and then to turn them into a piece of choreography to be seen and enjoyed on the stage. And this was in the middle, you see Kimono El Riot, who was our hip hop dance artist in residence. And we've actually, from the very start, featured hip hop as part of the traditional dance kind of spectrum because of this Congolese roots, and also its social kind of aspect as a social dance. So how many? 20 of us, 20 of them rather, obviously off stage, that we managed to fit on a very, very small stage that we have at the Scottish Storytelling Centre. So, watch out for Evie's and Jack's step work and footwork here. This is a tiny little documentary from these 8 hours condensed into 5 minutes. Recognizable? So again, we invited video artists to experience, to be with us for the duration, and she was there dancing with the camera in order to produce this work and put it together in no time, because she also had the 48 hours, and this was preceding the live work on the stage, 5 minutes. So. Moving on to Rembetiko, also another work that was inscribed on the representative list of humanity. UNESCO has got this list of, 3 lists really. One is representative list of intangible cultural heritage, and the other list is for safeguarding, urgent safeguarding of work, and then the third one is a register of safeguarding good practice. So, but Rembetiko, the Greek dance here, is already inscribed. The big question is which of the Scottish ones would be inscribed. So, and we've got the Dubkid dancer with Nadia here, and some of you know. So again, that fed into the project at the end. So unfortunately, I'll skip this. This is a little bit of Irish dancing as part of the Cayley Plus that I mentioned with the Bulgarian and Scottish fusion. Skipping to totally different Chardash. The Chardash tradition was also featured in this year's Pomegranates because of it being just recently, most recently in December, it was inscribed by UNESCO on the intangible cultural list of humanity for Hungary. And we had a dance master extraordinaire that we had to bring from Budapest for this one, who also is awarded in probably the equivalent of a knighthood for services to Hungarian traditional dance, including Chardash. And then he taught Busho. Busho is another dance, but with masks, from kind of the southern regions of Hungary. But again, we'll skip that. The Polonaise was another one that we featured this year. Again, just trying to encourage our local kind of scene of Scottish traditional dance forms to think which are the ones that have already made it on the list, and how is this benefiting? What are the opportunities that this creates for us here? Ireland hasn't got dance inscribed on the representative list of UNESCO, but on the national inventory, the national list, there is the Irish set dancing, I believe, from last year. It's on. So Polonaise was on in 2023. Was the Polish government and the Polish kind of probably equivalent of traditional dance forms, Scotland or tracks, they've inscribed this. So it's a process, it's kind of a boring application process that people have to go through in order to convince UNESCO and the world that this is worth keeping and safeguarding. And yeah, that brings us to the end. I have a couple of videos if we have a chance to see from this year's Hidden Faces. So given that the theme was masks and intangible cultural heritage, we mashed this together, and our artist, mask maker, residents, created specially designed masks for the dancers to get uncomfortable with and dance with throughout the show, because it's a specific skill that we were trying to get across through the workshops and then the 48-hour device choreography. And that kind of culminated on the International Day of Dance, which is originally how we kind of thought of Pomegranates as being the festival celebrating UNESCO's International Day of Dance. People do it in various different ways. That's our way of doing it. And also, just before we had it into Hidden Faces, I'll leave you just with a little snippet of this piece sequence based on Pomegranates Festival Spoken Word Commission sequence by 10 poems. We commissioned one poem. We ended up with, the gift of 10 poems from Ian Macmillan, the legendary broadcaster, BBC broadcaster. His voice. Start. That's number 2, but it's really Kalubi Mukhenjala Jacobi is Edinburgh-based Congolese artist of Congolese descent, Belgian Congolese, and she fell in love with this commission of 10 poems to dance with, sequence of 10 poems, play on words, obviously. And she ran with it. She actually devised and choreographed this piece herself, and challenged herself to use the words as the rhythm. But it's a hip hop and Congolese kind of mix in her choreography, because that's her background as well, hip hop. So that's another kind of little show that we just premiered, and you saw a glimpse of. But yeah, that's really to bring us back to full circle to the 3 things: the UNESCO Convention for Intangible Cultural Heritage. We have our own NGOs that's also specializing in traditional dance. Being not just in general in all traditions, tracks and TDFS. And then the Pomegranates is a kind of a vehicle, just as a platform to test all these ideas and to possibly invite you all to either present your work or to experience it and enjoy it as on the other side, as the audience. So thank you so much. Another slide.